Hey, welcome to episode 23 of Bloggers Are Weird. I am your host, DJ Paris from the blog thoughtsfromparis.com, also author of the book Holy Crap, I'm Bathing in a Rose, Best of Thoughts from Paris 2012, $2.99 on Amazon. Click through the link on thoughtsfromparis.com. Also, I am a videocaster. Sounds very impressive. And I do a show called O-Sex with Karen and DJ. And Karen is amazing and everyone loves her. So watch just for her. You can watch that on YouTube, but you can also just get to it from my website, Thoughts from Paris. Also, I am going to be doing next Friday to celebrate Mental Health Awareness Month on the last day of the month, a 24-hour blogathon. This is 24 posts of your stories related to mental illness, experiences with people who have emotional or psychological illness. So we are going to be, the reason we're doing this, spit it out, is because we want to support the website bandbacktogether.com. This is a fantastic website. You should check it out. It is a place where you can feel not alone because we cover every particular type of issue related to mental health and people share their stories. So we're going to be supporting. It is a non-for-profit. The course donations are tax deductible. And I'm going to be posting 24 times in 24 hours with your story. So that is really exciting. But on today's show, I'm also very excited because I just did this fantastic interview with the lovely Shari Simpson, who, by the way, if you're not familiar with her, you should be. Her website is dustyearthmother.com, and I love her tagline, Earth Mother just means I'm dusty, which is so great. Anyway, she told a fantastic story at last year's Blog Her. She was one of the 10, I believe, Voices of the Year. I was there in the audience where she brought the house down with a story of, having a women's issue during a very fancy formal dinner at the Spelling Manor with, of course, Aaron Spelling and Tori. So you have to hear this. It's fantastic. I'll put a link so you can watch her performance of this particular story. Anyway, we're going to be talking to Shari, who just filmed a pilot for a network and is currently shopping the pilot around to see if somebody can pick it up, and it's really exciting. And we're going to be talking about all sorts of things related to blogging. So I also want to talk very quickly about caffeine addiction because I just quit drinking caffeine. I had not been drinking it for 4 years, okay? No caffeine, except maybe a little chocolate here and there. No caffeine at all. Completely caffeine sober. But then I fell off the wagon about a month ago, and I was drinking it like a madman, okay? I was drinking energy drinks all day long, every day, like a complete psychopath. And I was turning into a zombie, and it was really bad. And so just yesterday was my first day off caffeine. And let me tell you, I had horrible, horrible headaches. I suspect they'd be classified as a migraine. And I threw up even. I was so sick. I actually threw up sober, and it was gross. But I am now a lot better. And, it's pretty clear I don't need a lot of extra energy anyway. So caffeine is just not good for me. So I am completely caffeine sober. I'm excited about that. And, so I'll continue to bring some good energy to the show without my additional artificial influence of stimulants. So grab a Monster Energy drink or whatever your drug of choice is. Mine is not a Monster Energy drinks, but I just had a bunch of bacon. So bacon is my drug of choice today. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Today's podcast is sponsored by romance-text.com. Looking to reignite the passion in your relationship? You have to check out romance-text.com. This is how to use text messages to bring back the passion and reignite the spark you once had. Now, if you're thinking this sounds cheesy or maybe it's just learning how to send dirty text messages, it's actually not. This program by relationship expert Michael Fiore has been featured in over 200 television and radio shows. This program has a money-back guarantee, is normally $97, but listeners of Bloggers Are Weird get a special price of only $47 for the entire program. By purchasing the program, you help support this show. Visit romance-text.com and get the passion back.
Now, you were married before, weren't you?
I was.
Right.
I was.
I remember reading somewhere recently that you were divorced. I'm trying to remember where it was.
Yeah, it might have been on Aiming Low, because I wrote well, no, I didn't do it on, I think I did write something recently for Aiming Low about that, but I
think maybe that's where it was, yeah.
Yeah, I wrote about how, I'm not entirely sure that this is accurate, but I believe my ex-wife still has my last name, and if she does, she is a professional, she's a veterinarian, so she goes by Dr. Paris, and I understand that for maybe professional reasons, she might want to keep that, but most likely it's just because she thought the name was cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool name, I have to say.
I guess. Is that one of the pugs in the background?
Yes. Can you hear him snoring?
I can. Is that, you have two, right?
I had two. One of them died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm very sad.
Well, it's so unbelievably devastating.
Oh, we were just devastated. We want to get another one, but we're traveling a lot this summer, so we're going to wait until the fall.
I thought my dog was loud when she's a little 6-pound Chihuahua. I thought that was a loud snore. Your pug is incredibly loud.
I'm not kidding. He will wake me up in the middle of the night. I'll be like, what in the name of all that is holy is going on in my bedroom right now? I just obviously confessed that he sleeps with us, But yeah, it's he sounds like a 90-year-old man in the bed.
I woke up, so I do this thing where I pretend that I'm actually meditating, but I just fall asleep because I meditate lying down in my bed. And I woke up just about 2 hours ago from my meditative nap, and my cat was in my arm crook with my dog in her arm crook, and the cat had her arm around the dog. It was the cutest thing, because I know that pug people, they never have one. They always have two.
They always have two. My friend says they're like potato chips. You cannot have just one.
Why is that? What is it about pugs?
I'm telling you, DJ, pug people are the weirdest people in the world, and I only know that because I'm one of them. But I don't know what happens. I think I have a theory, and my theory is that because they have those little flat faces, look like ugly little toddlers that will never grow up. And so you kind of become sort of humanly attached to them, like they're your like really, really pathetic children. And so pug people get very, very strange. And they start having like multiple pugs and dressing them and talking to them. Can you tell that I know of what I speak?
You do, and my ex-wife will confirm all of this as a veterinarian.
Yes.
But she says you're not the weirdest. She said the weirdest, and you may not be as familiar with this because I think only veterinarians tend to be in the know about this, but greyhound owners.
Really?
They also buy in pairs, and they are even weirder apparently than pug people.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know. I don't know any greyhound owners. So
pugs are either you either get it or you don't,
exactly,
and the people that don't understand it at all.
Yes. I have a friend who's just like she's like, Shari, I'm sorry, that's not a dog. That's some kind of alien from outer space, and I can't do the tail up thing. Looking at the butt, the whole
right.
the butthole.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, that was one of the selling points for me and my husband. We're like, that's bold. That is bold. That tail up like that.
It's like the bull mastiffs that truly need underwear. Like they don't have their tail up, but they need to wear underwear, and they don't.
Yes. Exactly.
I have a little 6 to 7 pound Chihuahua, and she wears clothing every day, so I can appreciate.
Oh, that makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I'm speaking with Cherie Simpson, blogger extraordinaire, and I've started calling everyone extraordinaire just because I've always wanted to use a little French.
Yes.
Because my last name is Paris, but that's about the only word I know. But and she is one of the last year's 2012's blog, her Voices of the Year. And she got to read in front of 5,000 people, which I was part of the attendance, and that was really exciting, at least to be part of that. And I think, well, let me try to think if I know any of the other people. Well, Neil read. So I can't say that you were the best of the bunch because maybe somebody else would be offended. But I really, because you were the very last one, weren't you?
I was the very last one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did that on purpose.
Well, yeah, they did, and I have to say they were slightly nervous about it because of the topic. They were hoping that it was going to go over as well as it did. I knew it was going to go over well just because it was a room, 5,000 women. So,
right.
But yeah, they confessed afterwards that they were like, we were a little nervous about putting you last.
Well, the table I was at was just a random table and everyone was just roaring.
Yes.
I mean, it was. By the way, if you want to follow Cherie, she is at DustyEarthMother.com or on Twitter at DustyEarthMom. So at DustyEarthMom.
Thank you, sir.
And are you also, you're on Facebook. In fact, I know you're on Facebook.
Facebook, yes.
And how do they find your fan page on Facebook?
I think it's called Earth Mother Just Means I'm Dusty. That's the actual name of the blog. Is Earth Mother Just Means I'm Dusty, and
you can also so search for that, or you can just like her on her blog. She has a little Facebook like there.
Yes, that would be a nice thing to do.
She also writes for Aiming Low, as do I, and we met at the Aiming Low party.
That's right.
So anyway, you're going to read for us today.
I am.
What are you reading?
I'm going to read How to Speak with a New Jersey Accent.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I know you'd be happy about that, DJ. All right. How to Speak with a New Jersey Accent. All right. So, I have to tell you something tragic. My kid talks Jersey. When I was considering marrying my now husband, but then boyfriend with a sassy engagement ring, there were 2 deal breakers on the table. One, dude was allergic to dogs. No real problem, for me. 3 years of allergy shots, and I got the demonic poopers that I love so dearly. Now, the other deal breaker was a little more challenging. Dude owned a house in Jersey. I was a Manhattan girl. Sure, I'd only lived there for 10 years, but I was a New Yorker out of the box. The day I moved to Manhattan, it was 102 degrees. I went down into the subway where it was 486 degrees, and a homeless man yelled, "Hey, gorgeous!" and then took my picture with a pretend camera made out of old plastic water bottles. And I thought, I am home. And no way was I giving all that up for Jersey. But dude had a way. Hoboken isn't Jersey, he said. Hoboken is like the really, really west side of New York. It's the birthplace of Frank Sinatra. It's where the first recorded baseball game was played. Last-ditch effort. If you marry me, I will get 3 years of painful and only semi-effective allergy shots, and you could have as many dogs as you want. Dude was persuasive. So I listened to Springsteen's Jersey Girl a couple hundred times, girded my loins, and headed through the Lincoln Tunnel to the really, really west side of Manhattan. And I grew to love Hoboken. And soon I grew to love New Jersey herself, even Newark, the little tramp. But one thing I will never love about Jersey, the accent. I knew I wasn't in danger of talking Jersey myself, but it just never occurred to me that my children would grow up with those sounds around them constantly, as I thought I was in trouble on my daughter's first day of preschool when the teacher looked at her and said, "Oh, aren't you beautiful?" But somehow my daughter managed to escape talking Jersey. When she screams what a terrible mommy I am, it sounds perfectly mid-Atlantic. But my boy, oh, my boy. Yesterday he said to me, "Mommy, I'm thinking of a Michael Jackson song that starts with D." Dirty Diana? Nope, another one. I thought long and hard, but I couldn't come up with another one. I give up. "Mommy, they don't really care about us." Oh, Jersey. Jersey. You great, big, beautiful garden state with the view of the Statue of Liberty. Jersey, you with your fine turnpike where one can drive for 40 miles without seeing an exit. Jersey, Jersey, you who valiantly strive to make medical marijuana legal. Jersey, you who have spawned incredibly highbrow television pleasures such as Cake Boss and Jersey Shore. I do love you, Jersey. You know I do. But Jersey, I don't love the way you talk. I'm sorry.
I love that. That's great. And I used to work for a beer company years and years ago, and we went around the country doing marketing stuff. And this is back in 2001, I spent like about maybe 4 weeks on the Jersey Shore, and I'd never seen anything like it.
It's unreal.
I think we stayed in Tom's River, and it was unbelievable.
It really is. And I just want you to tell me, did you enjoy the snoring in the background?
Oh, I'm still enjoying the snoring.
My pug. I swear, the minute I started reading, he just got louder and louder. And he is sprawled out on the couch, so enjoying my reading. He likes when I read to him. So.
How did you start blogging?
I've always been an actor and a writer, and I wrote an off-Broadway comedy with my writing partner. It had 2 off-Broadway runs, and then it had a run in Hollywood starring Tori Spelling, which is how I met Tori Spelling originally. So that's what I was doing, and then I got married, and I was a little long in the tooth, so we decided we better hurry up and have some kids while I still had a couple of, eggs that might actually do something. And, then you just enter baby fog. And once I kind of got out of the baby fog a little bit, I was like, what am I going to do now? I can barely put 2 sentences together at this point because I'm so fried. And I started writing for a couple of mom websites, and I would kind of write their humor stuff. And I was like, I just need to do this for myself, basically. And that's how I started, and it's gone swimmingly. It's gone very, very well. So.
How many years have you been doing it now?
3 years.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And do you think about getting back into doing theater?
I do. I have done some stuff recently. I recently shot a pilot that was not picked up. Don't even talk to me about that. And then I actually just did a video for Nick Mom, because they do all those comedy videos on their website. Right. So I just shot my first video for them. It's going to run probably the second week of June. And I just did Listen to Your Mother in Manhattan last week. So, yeah, it's been, I've been doing a lot more recently in just the past year. Actually since the Voice of the Year thing, things have I've been doing voiceovers, and things have sort of taken off, which has been really nice, and that was incredibly fun. So,
talk about the pilot. Or is it too painful?
I might weep, but no. It was actually for a network that I shall not name. The network that shall not be named. It was actually kind of follow up a couple of mom bloggers who are humor writers, and so they shot a pilot, and it didn't. I guess they didn't love us, and I don't know why. But the other couple of moms are quite fabulous humor writers. So,
are these people I would know?
Oh, probably. Can I say their names? Is that
sure? Doesn't bother me.
Wendy Aarons and Erin Domarecki. I'm going to totally mess up her. It's Erin Domarecki Donovan. No, Erin Donovan Domarecki of I'm Gonna Kill Him, and Ninja Mom.
Sure.
Ninja Mom. So, yeah, so those were the other ones. And it's actually, I have to say that it is actually still floating out there. Some other networks are looking at it, so one can only hope that somebody will pick it up, because it was pretty funny, I have to say.
Do you have a copy of it? Are you able to see, or was it fully realized, or was it just a treatment? Or?
No, we have a copy of it. It was 15 minutes long, sort of like a half pilot, and so that's, I think they chopped it down then to 5 minutes, and that's the one that they're sort of floating at this point, floating around. Yeah.
And how, as far as, because a lot of my readers and a lot of the listeners for this podcast are aspiring bloggers, and you've had, some good level of success in just the 3 years. What sort of advice do you have for people that are getting out there, especially, the humor scene? I always say is actually there's a bit of a void. There aren't really that I can find. There's a lot of funny mom bloggers, but if you focus more just in humor in general, which I know you sort of do, and you also do stuff with your family, I don't think there's a lot of us out there, quite frankly.
Yeah, there is a lot, but there's not a lot of good ones, to be honest.
Yeah.
And also, there's something about, like, I can't believe this. I almost just said humor isn't taken seriously, and that's actually going to come out of my mouth. But I think in a lot of ways, it's sort of that thing of, it's that Hollywood thing of, the comedy never gets the best picture. Even though comedy is so much harder to do than drama, and if you're really good at comedy, oh my goodness, it's quite an art. But I think that kind of happens as well in humor writing and humor blogging. I mean, there's some fantastic stuff. I suppose you've read McSweeney's, right?
Sure.
Internet Tendency. There's some fantastic writers on there, and there's some very, very funny writers on Nick Mom now, and that's pretty much a straight humor site. So there's some very funny women on there. I'm actually pretty impressed and pretty delighted to be writing for them now. So, but just as far, I mean, if you want advice as far as like getting into into humor blogging and humor writing, I say read a lot. Read really good humor writers like Wendy Aarons and like Marinka of Motherhood in NYC, and Finn Slippy.
Yeah, that's Alice. Forget her last name, but Alice something. Anyway,
Not her last name, but Alice. She's incredibly funny. Yeah, she's fantastic, and there's a few others who are just pretty stellar, and you need to read a lot, and you don't obviously copy what they're doing, but you learn a lot about how long it should be, how to make write your punchlines, how to, even for humor writing, how to space it on the page so that your jokes have enough air around them. That's an old screenwriting thing. They like to see a lot of white on the page, so you're not explaining too much. But that's kind of the same with humor writing. As far as blogging is, there's got to be some white so that you're not. We have such a short attention span these days. So there's got to be some white so you can actually see your jokes. And really good visual humorists like Noah Gavin is a very The Animated Woman. If that's your thing, if you're into cartooning and things like that. So read a lot of the really, really good ones. And then, just work on your voice and definitely pitch a lot. Pitch to McSweeney's Internet Tendency and pitch to Aiming Low and pitch to In the Powder Room and
maybe like do the Mouthy Housewives, do they accept?
I don't know if they take pitches, but they're fantastic. So and just kind of immerse yourself in that environment, immerse yourself in that part of the blogosphere, and find the really good ones, and then that's just a really good start. That's basically what I did. I kind of just poked around until I found people with a similar voice to mine, who are now my buddies, of course. And that just, and I learned so much from them. I learned so much from their writing. I learned how to frame a joke, and so I guess that would be my advice.
Yeah, what I did growing up was, and this was a little even before my time because the magazine had kind of folded to pretty much had gone away. But I used to read National Lampoon, and that was the original humor blog. I mean, really, it was just the collection of the funniest writers, and I learned how to craft a joke by just, like you were saying, like reading and reading, and it just eventually just sort of seeps into your pores, and you figure out how to craft the joke, where to place it, how it'll read,
right?
And then you just through trial and error see what hits and what misses.
And obviously, if you're thinking just the classics, read David Sedaris,
Augustin Burroughs is pretty funny.
Read Shouts and Murmurs in the New Yorker. Some great, fantastic writers in there. Read Steve Martin. Gosh, there's so many of the real classics where you just learn so much, and it's such an enjoyable experience. And read the Tina Fey.
Yeah, she's great.
Oh, you know who else is fantastic is the Chictionary, Anna Leffler.
Oh, I don't know her.
Oh, you don't know her? Oh, the Chictionary, brilliant. It's a book, and she has a blog called Life Just Keeps Getting Weirder, and she's just a spectacular humor writer. So, yeah, she's fantastic. So, yeah, those are my faves.
I have a funny Noah Gavin story. She was the only, well, aside from the Aiming Low people, she was the only, and I only knew Anissa and Leela, Don't Speak Whinese, when Blogger was in New York last year. And other than that, I knew nobody. And I knew Noah because I stumbled across her website, because I think at the time both she and I were advertising with the Blog S, who I also really like. And she, I really liked her website because she was even filthier than I was, and I loved it. And so anyway, when I started to do this podcast, I just had the idea to do it after. Actually, you in many ways inspired it, because your reading was so tight and good, and it was the one I remember the most out of all of them. And I thought, boy, I wonder your reading, read as well as the printed version. But in some ways, it was even better to watch you perform it, and so because it was a performance, at least I thought. And so I said, I bet there are so many bloggers that don't get an opportunity to read and hit, or they just don't do it on their own site. And so I said, I bet nobody does this. Well, it turns out Noah Gavin had been doing it, and so I thought, well, who do I want as my first guest? And I thought, I'd like to get Elizabeth Jane Liu, who also read last year, who I just think is absolutely hysterical.
Yes.
One of the funniest women I know. So I called her, and she said, "Oh, do you know who Noah Gavin is?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I know Noah real well." And she said she also has a podcast, and I was her first guest too. So I had to call. I didn't call, but I sent a message down to Noah, and I had to say, "I am not copying you, I swear to God. But oh, by the way, my first guest was your first guest." And she was cool enough not to care, but
that's cool. I actually don't know her personally, and I didn't even know she did a podcast.
I don't think she's doing it anymore, but it was very funny.
That's very funny. That's good.
Well, she's just very funny, and she's a performer as well.
Yes. So she's done a number of videos on Nick Mom. She's very funny.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
Just as funny, like in her delivery as she is in her writing, which that often is not the case. Though I will say that we just did Listen to Your Mother last week, Anne Marenka of Motherhood and NYC. I think a star is born. I mean, her delivery sounds exactly like her on the page, and it's just the drollest, driest. I mean, she killed. She had that room wrapped around her little finger, so I was like, a star is born.
Oh, I have to say, I wanted to say this before I forgot. Oh, if you haven't seen Sherry's reading of her blog, Her Voice of the Year story about Tori Spelling, which she referenced earlier, you can do. This is how I just found it. You can obviously find it on her website, but the way I found it on her website is I just Googled Earth Mother means I'm Dusty Spelling. So I just put in, or you could probably just put in Tori Spelling, and up popped the story. And then I was also able to find the video, and I sent it to. I've probably sent that video to 25 people. I love that reading, but you have to watch it. But my favorite line, my favorite joke in that whole bit is it's towards the end where you said, I'm paraphrasing, but something like, my underwear looked like the Battle of Antietam had been fought.
Thank you. I know I was kind of proud of that one myself.
And sadly, like probably half the room didn't get the joke, but that is a brilliant joke.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm so delighted that that inspired you to do the podcast. That is really cool. That makes me happy. And oh my gosh, that story, I'm telling you, when I lived it, it was utter torture. And just being able, 10 years later to finally write about it. That's how painful it was, in actuality. But then to be able to write about it and kind of enjoy the memory of that night of torture.
Well, this story, not to give anything away, but has to do with nature calling at a inopportune moment at the Spelling Manor.
And the $150 million Spelling Manor, yes. I'm telling you, DJ, God puts me in these ridiculous situations all the time just so I have something to write about. I cannot tell you how many times I've been like, why in the world is this happening to me right now? I'm like, well, it's going to be funny when I write it down.
Well, maybe we should go out on that. But what I will do is I will put a link to that story and also the video on my blog when this goes live. This is also available on iTunes and a few other YouTube and a few other places, so it'll be available. But I'll make sure to put a link because that story is definitely worth. If you haven't read anything by Cherie, that's a good first introduction.
Well, thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with you.
Well, thank you. Are you heading to Blog Her this year? Are you able to make it?
I will see you there, right? That's your hometown, right?
It is. Oh, and you're originally from Chicago.
I am.
From whereabouts?
I am from Oak Lawn, which is 20 minutes southwest of the city.
Yeah, not far.
Yeah, but as you know, the suburbs of Chicago are about as removed from the city. I think I went to the city like 3 times throughout my entire first 18 years, and I'm not even exaggerating. People would be like, "Ooh, the big city." The city of Chicago, so...
Yeah, well, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you spending some time with us, and also your dog snored through the entire interview, which is quite impressive.
I'm just going to hold it up just so you can hear it to go out on. That's for you, DJ.
Thank you. Once again, if you want to read Cherie, go to dustyearthmother.com or find her on Twitter at dustyearthmom. And she is on Facebook as well. So I wanted to thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
And if you want to, shoot her a message, let her know you'll be at Blog Her, and maybe she'll come over and say hi.
Cool.
And so we always go out with the same way, but I just say goodbye, Cherie.
Goodbye, Cherie.